if you were to give one piece of advice about, living a healthy life on the road to other drivers, what would you tell them?
I would say don't necessarily ignore temptations or ignore cravings. There we go.
Chicken trucking, big wheels there humming, high rate of fuel consumption, missing mama, needing loving, rolling with the weight of sound. Running like the southern shaker, I don't need no 40 acres to turn this rig around.
Welcome back to the Trucking Fitness Radio, the number one driver's health and fitness podcast in the world. My name's Mark Manera. I'm the founder and CEO of the Trucking Fitness Company, and we're pumped to have you listening to this episode. We're here just trying to make the trucking industry a healthier place, and I'm really excited about the impact that this podcast is going to have on that mission. And today we've got an awesome guest on the show, but before we introduce our guest, did you know you can be on this podcast? We are inviting drivers on the podcast and giving you or another driver the opportunity to come on the show and get one-on-one help from me. You can ask any specific questions you have. I will have 100% focus on helping you find a solution, get you on a path to living a healthier life on the road. And we also want to have drivers on who have made a big transition on their own. I can't tell you how many times I post a video on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and I get a comment and say, hey, I'm down 50 pounds, or I've lost 120 pounds in the last 2 years. And, first off, I want to say, hell yeah, let's go. I'm pumped to hear that. But also, if you've been through that and lost a ton of weight on your own, or just found a way to stay healthy out on the road, you can help inspire thousands of other drivers by just telling your story. And we want to give you that platform to do so. So if you fall into either of those categories, you want help, or you just want to hear, have your story heard, we want to hear from you. Go to the link in our show notes or jump onto truckinfit.com/radio. So truckinfit.com/radio and fill out our show application. It literally takes 3 minutes. So let's get into the show today. We are talking to Preston, a friend of mine, truck driver himself up in Colorado, and one of our longtime members of the Trucking Fitness Company. So Preston, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, before we dive too deep into this, give everyone a little background on yourself.
Oh, so my name is, as Mark said, my name is Preston. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. I've been trucking for a little over 5 years now, and an owner up for about a year and a half or so. And most of my career has been local work. I've been on the road a little bit, but I get homesick, so I try to stay more local. And yeah, as right now, I haul containers out of the BNSF and Union Pacific railroads all over town.
Nice. Awesome. And, I know right now is a tough time around your area after all of the wildfires and everything. And thank goodness that for the majority of it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but a majority of it's done for because of snow and Mother Nature, thank goodness. But that was right in your neighborhood a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Oh, it was crazy. It was actually supposed to snow that day. It started, in Colorado, being Colorado, it decided the weather should come on its own sweet time. But yeah, it was insane. The wind really picked up. It was gusting at like 80, 60, 80, heck, not too far away, up to 120 miles per hour. And I was actually in Colorado Springs at a delivery, and my wife, she had called me and said, hey, there's a grass fire up here. There's a lot of smoke, should I be worried? And, my grandparents, they used to be volunteer firefighters on the eastern plains of Colorado, and they dealt with grass fires a lot. And when I worked on the ranch, I dealt with them too every now and then. So yeah, you typically don't need to worry about them. They can move fast, but they're not really known for being the most destructive of fires. But this one, because of the wind is surging and the different buildings and whatnot in the area, it can cause fires to split. So before you know it, you have a very fast-moving fire or you have 4 very fast-moving fires. So the firefighters can only deal with so much. And the biggest struggle, like I said, with firefighters is trying to stay in front of it. And unfortunately, being in the area that they hit, I don't want to say they tend to be very environmentally friendly. They tend to be very environmentalists, where kind of similar to what California deals with their forests, not clearing out the dead brush or keeping it cut. And a lot of these fires could have been avoided if they just mowed the grass a little bit. Not completely get rid of it, but just mow it to a shorter amount, because it's like for every inch of grass, I think I'm wrong with this, but every inch of grass, it can propel the fire about a foot or so. So when grass is about knee high, that can get pretty big out of hand. But unfortunately, it's been a dry winter. We haven't really had snow up until New Year's, and so it just spread. And my wife, she was like, "Oh, what do we do?" It's like, "Oh, don't worry, they're gonna get taken care of." And it wasn't until I got closer back to town where you could see the smoke coming on. And when I finally got to the Union Pacific, drop off the trailer, my wife's like, "Oh, we got evacuation order." It's like, "Oh, geez," and it's like in Broomfield. That's well insane. But that's not me. And then I told her, "Hey, don't leave right away, because that's how people get hurt. Everyone just rushes to the exit and people get hurt." So, make sure you grab obviously our dog and our bird, some legal documents, and one or two like really memorable thing, sentimental things,
photos, stuff like that. If something happens, yeah.
Exactly. And she ended up grabbing that. I told her, "Hey, I'm headed home. I'll be there in probably about 20 minutes." And there was like going there. There was no traffic. It's like, why can't it be like this every day? But I got there and the cops were there. They almost didn't let me into the complex. Said, "Hey guys, I live here. I need to help my wife get some stuff out of here." But it was but yeah, like I said, you can see the fire off in the distance. It's probably about 1.5 miles or so away. By this point, the winds died down to maybe just a slight breeze, which it didn't, for me, it didn't make sense. Why were we getting evacuated? I mean, if the wind was so windy, it makes sense because embers can blow and cause problems. But it's about 1.5 miles away, and it has to go through a concrete jungle before it gets to us. So I don't have much to worry about. And then we got a hotel. Unfortunately, it was a pain in the butt to find one because everybody evacuated. And when we finally found one about midnight or so that night, they're like, "Hey, evacuation orders lifted." It's like, I already spent $130 on a hotel, and I'm staying here tonight. Yeah. And the downside was when we came back, there was no heat in the house because the power company turned off all the natural gas to check for damages, which makes sense. But they said that the power wasn't going to come back until the heat wasn't going to come back until next Tuesday, or last Tuesday, like the 4th. And it's like, guys, it's supposed to get like 5 to 10 degrees every night.
Yeah, in Colorado, seriously.
Like we kind of need some heat. And it's like, just in case, I'm going to go to this Walmart that's not in the area and grab a bunch of space heaters just in case. And then about 6, 7 o'clock New Year's Eve, they came in and relit the pilot lights and stuff. And this is where it kind of irritates me to live in an apartment because, guys, I could relight the pilot lights. It's not that hard. Like, just give me the heat to the door and then I'll just do it. But we got heat back and whatnot, so it wasn't too bad. And it's insane to see how much Colorado came together to help out there. There's been huge amounts of donations and in terms of money and just stuff. And in fact, a lot of these charities are like, "Hey guys, we appreciate it, but going forward, can we have more cash than stuff?" Because we're going to they split stuff. So it's been kind of cool to see that happen. And it's devastating. It's frustrating to see. And
yeah,
I think the frustrating part about this whole thing, besides those homes and businesses, are a lot of I love animals. I've always been an animal lover. A lot of these people left their pets behind when they evacuated. And so there's been updates about, "Hey, we found this dog, we found this cat in here." And very few of them are actually designed for cold weather or know how to handle cold weather. And it's like, well, guys, okay, if you're getting evacuated, I know it's a quick situation, grab your pet and get a dodge. Like, don't leave them behind. And then you also have people on the flip side who are taking advantage of the situation. They don't actually need the donations, they don't need anything, but they're saying that they've been harmed and they're taking advantage of it. So it's kind of frustrating to see in some aspects, but it could be a lot worse.
Well, I know my wife and I are really big with animals and especially the rescue and stuff like that. And I know we share that common thought, but I always say, and my wife says too, that if you get a dog or you get a pet, that is a responsibility of yours, and it's not that's a living thing. You don't just leave it and go. That's part of your family, right? And that's sad to hear, but I'm glad to hear that you and your family is good to go. Nothing crazy got damaged, and things slowly are getting back to normal. But I guess to kind of give a little bit more background, tell us how'd you get into trucking, and then kind of tell us the story of going from a company driver to an owner operator.
I got you. Well, so I got into trucking in October 2016. Before then I was going to school at Grace University in Iowa, and I got on a football scholarship. I played there for about 2 seasons, and then at the end of my second season, I transferred to the University of Wyoming. My idea was that if I had an opportunity to go to the NFL or the Canadian League, going to D1 school would be the best way to go about it. I haven't actually told a lot of people this because it's just easier to tell them I didn't make the team. But when I got there, unfortunately, I didn't get cleared by the NCAA, so I wasn't allowed to play. And without, the ability to play football, my I don't want to say my ability in school, but my desire to go to class and do good in school kind of dropped. And so by the time fall 2015 came around, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with school. And in Wyoming, the only way you can really make money up there is if you work for the state or the city or the university, or at a coal mine. And it's like, I really don't want to do any of this because I can't qualify for a couple of months on a degree. And I really don't want to be in the middle of nowhere at a coal mine. And by this point, I met my wife, and she, her dad was a truck driver, her brother was a truck driver, and she's like, hey, it may not be the most desirable of jobs, but you can make some good money from it. And so after some soul searching, I signed on with, or I talked to Prime Inc. and they're like, yeah, we'll train you to get your CDL, just here's a bus ticket to Salt Lake City and let's do it. And the trainer I had, he was a very good trainer. Actually, I'm still in contact with him and his family. They've been really cool, kind of like a second set of parents. And like the last day before I tested out, he took the entire day off. Like other trainers would go out and still do other runs. He took the entire day. He's like, I'm going to teach you all the points of reference. I'm going to teach you all the ways to turn, so that when you test out, you pass first try. And it turned out he also had a bonus. If I passed out first try, passed first try, he got like a $2,000 bonus. So he had a little incentive to do that.
There you go. Yeah.
I ended up being with Prime there for a couple of weeks, and then I thought, it's 2 weeks with the trainer, and then you kind of maybe another week or so with somebody else to kind of make sure you know what you're doing, and then you're on truck. But unfortunately, Prime was like, oh no, you have to be with a trainer for 30,000 miles, which will turn out to be about 6 weeks. And say, okay, guys, I don't really want to do that. So I ended up going with Western Express, which was probably one of the worst companies I've ever been with. And I was with them for a little bit, and I was like, screw this. And come December or January of 2021, or sorry, 2017, there we go. I ended up signing on with Warner. And Warner, they said, hey, yeah, we actually have a daily position in Wyoming for you. You're driving from Cheyenne to Rock Springs. It's like, really? A daily position for a new guy driver? That's unheard of. Cool. So, well, the pay is like 25 cents a mile. So, guys, my rent's $500 a month. That's still good money to me. And I learned very quickly why that position was open. Driving through Wyoming is, as some of your listeners know, it can be a little sketchy.
Yeah.
I think it was a trial by fire because you learn how to be a good driver, you learn how to deal with the wind and whatnot. And then when I moved back to Colorado, unfortunately, Warner didn't have any local positions open. So I ended up working for a pet food company, where I would do a bunch of deliveries around town, then drive to Salt Lake City, do deliveries out there and come back. And it wasn't bad, but driving through the mountains in winter, especially with how much I improved throughout the year, I felt like I deserved more than 20 an hour. They unfortunately weren't able to do that. So I found a scrap metal company. But that's right when the tariffs were starting to get imposed. So price of metal dropped, and they only giving me about 25 hours a week. And so guys, I get at least full time.
Yeah.
Ended up going with an LTL company called Brown Transfer. I think they got bought out by Magnum recently. It's very similar for you guys who don't know. It's similar to Old Dominion or MTS or companies like that. And it was there for a year, but that company was just, they kept losing drivers. And by the time I quit, they only had 7 of us, and they just covered in all of Colorado. And they would get moving me around to new areas that I wasn't familiar with. And and then they get mad at me for not getting. It's like, guys, you gotta stop. You're stressing me out. You gotta stop. And they're like, no, you gotta get the job done. I am doing the job. And, well, you're a terrible driver. We can't get it all done. And so, you know what? I'm done. And so I kind of kicked myself for this because I could have gotten a job at Old Dominion. In hindsight, I should have went that route because at the time they're paying like $29 an hour. It's like, oh, sweet. This is just money-wise is a better position. But Old Dominion being one of the better companies out there, they're very strict, and I didn't like that. It's like, I don't mind companies being hard, but it's like just have someone looking over your shoulder the whole time made me uneasy. But this other company I went to, it was called Lippman Family Farms, and it paid a salary for a driver, which for drivers is unheard of to get a salary. And it's like, oh, cool. But over the course of the 7 months I was there, it's like, you know what? I have a buddy who works. I have 2 friends who are owner ops. known for years. They keep saying how great it was, how they can dictate their own schedule. Like if I want a week
Yeah.
off, it's not so much I need permission. It's more FYI, I'm taking this week off. And this they showed me a pay stub one time about what they could be made. And it's like, dang, that'll be awesome. So, I was praying about come March of 2020, I started praying about, it's like, guys, is this something I want to do, or is this something you really need to do? Then in May of 2020, I found a truck for $20,000. And it was in good shape. It was old, it was beat up, and it's like, you know what? It needs to work, not look pretty. So I ended up getting it, but then after about a month of trying to find the right company to sign on to, I found one called THC Global that was over the road. I pretty much went from Denver to Louisville, Kentucky, and back. And when I was there, it's like, okay, I want to get healthy. I don't want to be like all these other drivers. You see other drivers just ballooning up. So I was like, I'm going to buy some pack of MREs from Amazon. I know they have a lot of calories, but theoretically, I eat one a day, should be fine for the entire day. And it wasn't a bad idea, but oh my gosh, the heartburn was just ridiculous.
Really?
I got some bad heartburn. But it's also where maybe once a week or so, stop by and get like some Popeye chicken or something that's warm and that can be a little, I don't want to say more yummy, but something a little bit more yummy, and say, okay, maybe just try to discipline yourself in that way. And then in September, I found Manchester Motor Freight. That's the new some local guys in Denver to haul containers, and never didn't know anything about containers. I was like, but hey, it's local, paid it this and that, and I've been signed on with them ever since. And it's checks. It's been hasn't been a bad route. It's when my truck was down, I was looking at other companies, like maybe I should become a company driver again. Not deal with it or deal with the crap of being owner op anymore. And it's like, every time I had an interview with one, it's like there was that one thing about them that it's like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, my truck got fixed, and it's like, yeah, I'm glad to stay owner op. I'm a lot happier and just a little less stressed. Because I've never been really keen on trucking. I kind of saw it as just like, well, I was kind of forced to play my hand because I was never, because of school and because of football and stuff. But it's like, you know what? It makes it a little bit more tolerable.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think reasons people get into specific careers, trucking, I think some people love trucking, they love the lifestyle, and then other people, it just fits their lifestyle, like you said, and, especially the owner operator lifestyle, like, hey, you can make your own schedule, you enjoy being on the road, maybe not when it's 5 degrees and icy going up the mountains, but I think that's awesome. And when at that point did you join the trucking fitness company? Because you've been for a while. Was that when you shifted to your last company and you became local in Colorado?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So over the road, it's not impossible to work out because I was doing, I don't want to say limited, but looking back, it's more limited workouts. But it wasn't the same. I thought, you know what? Being local, I don't really have an excuse not to be in the gym anymore, and I don't have an excuse to do certain things. And so it's like, yeah, let's sign on to them. Let's because coming from the football background, I'm used to a coach saying these are the workouts you need to do. These are what it's what I expect you to look like in 2 months. Let's do it. So it's a little bit, and I don't want to say it's a little harder, but it's always been kind of a little bit harder to get my mind to come up with my own workouts and things like that. It's like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to be healthy? So that's why I joined the Trucker Fitness Company.
Yeah, and I think that's a common thing for a lot of people, because it's like, you've got time, you finally make the time to exercise, and then there's the next step of, well, what the heck am I going to do exercise wise during this time? And it's like this extra mental hurdle that you have to go over. And I think having a program that you say, okay, I open the app and I just go, makes it so much easier. And especially after driving all day, you're mentally drained, and you don't, you don't want to get on the whiteboard, dry erase board and write up a workout. But what position did you play at football?
So I was an offensive tackle.
Okay.
And because before I was told the NCAA didn't clear me, the coach wanted to put me on defense, which turned out that was a little bit more fun than deal with, because we had to memorize all the plays, just remember the footwork. It's like, okay, just get the guy the ball. So it made the process a little bit more fun. But yeah, I'm mostly offensive tackle.
Okay. Nice. And so I guess now and you can kind of talk with, back when you were OTR and now you can even now being local, what are some of the struggles that you deal with, just when it comes to your health and being a driver?
So I'd say, especially over the road, it's just the temptation to eat whatever the gas station has. Like, for example, one of the Love's gas stations out here, they have Church's chicken, which is just like, oh, fried chicken, fried okra. It sounds so good. Or it's like, oh man, a nice big Coke to go with it. Or you just candy bar. It's very tempting to go that route, eat the junk food. And I mean, Subway isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's like Subway can get old real fast.
Yeah.
And the food you bring, it's like, oh, well, I don't really want to eat the MRE. I don't really want to eat these apples. I don't eat the granola bar. I don't eat the peanut butter and jelly tortillas. I want this because it's actually more tastes better. But it's just the temptation to go on these truck stops and whatnot. And it's I think that's why they decorate the way they do, is because it's like, oh look, I don't really need it, but oh, I want some candy. Oh, I want the donut. Oh, I want the drinks. I want energy drinks. I want this. And it's a way for, I don't say it's a trap, but it's like a tourist trap for drivers. And so it makes it really hard for over-the-road drivers who want to stay healthy when everywhere you go, there's fried chicken, there's a Subway sandwich, or there's a Wendy's or whatnot. And as a local driver, on the flip side, it's more hard just to stay motivated to work out, because wherever over the road, I don't want to say you're a steering wheel holder, but you tend to just drive most of the time. You don't really have to get in and out of the truck often. Local driver, especially if you do LTL, you're in and out of the truck like 12, 15, 16 times a day. So, and then you're helping unload the trailer too. So it tends to be a little more exhausting work. And after 13 hours, last thing you want to do is go to the gym and work out for an hour. You just want to go home, relax, maybe watch some TV, and just go to sleep. And it's just, I don't know, they're different, but they're kind of the same, because even when you're local, oh, gas station, I don't really need a candy bar. No, but candy bar sounds good. But I don't want to say, but yeah, that's basically about it though, because over the road, it's a little bit easier. The temptation's a little harder to ignore. Local driver, it's just, you're going to be a little more tired, and it just takes a little more. They both take the brain power and brain motivation to keep yourself disciplined, but it's just a kind of discipline.
Yeah, and I think that's a good dynamic to like think about, like a framework to think about, of like the difference between local drivers and over the road, of like, okay, over the road, yeah, the nutrition part is really difficult, because you can't go pack your lunch every single day. You can't bring all these snacks, and it depends on your situation. You can keep stuff in your truck, definitely. But, I guess, like you said, the temptation of, hey, I'm gonna go to the truck stop. I gotta go into Love's, or I gotta go into TA to shower, or use the restroom or whatever during the evening. There's a lot of food options there. But when you're done driving, it's you time, right? You don't have go back to your family, and you've got, wife, kids, pets that you're having to deal with every single evening, on top of your driving routine, which is, one of the struggles I hear a lot from, the local drivers of, well, hey, after I get done driving, I still have X, Y, and Z that I have to do to, fulfill my other obligations at home, right? And it makes it just a much harder on the exercise side of things to get a workout in. And, I think, like you said, getting in and out of the truck a couple times a day definitely maybe is good for the mental health of, you're just not getting in like vegetative state and driving all day, but it adds to the whole stress of the whole job. And you're moving a lot more, and when you get done, you want to just check out. So I do think that's difficult. And I think having a coach, like you said, or having the ability of like, okay, I know I need to do this, maybe I don't even have an hour, I just have 20-30 minutes that I'm just going to get some movement done. And I think it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and that's why I would say, especially if you're over the road, because it helps you get out of the vegetative state when you're done driving, is maybe have a dog in the truck with you.
Yeah.
They have to go walk, they have to go to the bathroom, and that way, it forces me to have to go walk around the truck stop, or forces me to have to be a little more active than I otherwise would be. So, but it comes down to discipline. It's really just more a mental thing. Like, like for all the listeners who were in sports, you had a 6 a.m. workout, you don't really want to go to class now. But you'd say, I have to be disciplined to go to class, or you have to be disciplined not to go to work. It's a mental battle. And I really want to be lazy, but can't be lazy. But yeah, like I said, I definitely over the road. That's why having a dog in the truck was a little nicer because when I was over the road, I brought my little dog with me, and yeah, he kept me out. I was like, I don't want to work out, but you gotta go potties. Let me get my shoes on. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a good hack. That's a good. So I guess to round off this podcast, and I think we've had a great conversation of like, if you were to give one piece of advice about, living a healthy life on the road to other drivers, what would you tell them?
I would say don't necessarily ignore temptations or ignore cravings. There we go. Where like for me, I love diet do, but and sometimes for some reason I get a massive craving for it. But instead of having a big liter bottle you get from the gas station, maybe get the 8-ounce bottle. And then if I have to have it again, if I had that Monday, let's wait till Wednesday. Let's get another one Wednesday. But it just don't necessarily ignore your craving because it seems, at least for me, it seems like if you ignore it too long, you overindulge. And so it's like, not necessarily say I'm craving chocolate. Okay, have a chocolate bar. But try to discipline yourself to only have one, and then you're good for the next few days. But yeah, I would just say that's the big thing is just don't necessarily ignore your cravings. Have it, but just limit how much you have, and that way, you fulfill your need, and then that's not completely wrecking your gains or your progress.
Oh my God, I think I completely agree. I mean, like, there's a part of life outside of, eating healthy, and it's you don't have to hate yourself and hate your life. You can eat the foods you enjoy. It's all about portion control, right? And they've actually done some research and studies on eating desserts and like the, dopamine and the effects that your body has on it, and they found that the first couple of bites of just eating the dessert, you get like 90% of the enjoyment versus eating a huge large king size chocolate bar. So I think it's all about portion control, and one item that you eat that day doesn't ruin your whole day. Now if you have a chocolate bar, a king size chocolate bar at every single meal, that makes that will add up really quickly. But if you have something that you enjoy, don't yeah don't just say I can't do it. Figure out, okay, how do I make this 10-15% better or healthier, right? And just cutting out the portion size. Maybe instead of every day you do it every other day. And I think that's a great piece of advice. Preston, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you everyone for listening, and again, if you want to be on the show, if you want to come on, get personal advice from me, or if you want to come on and tell your story like Preston just shared, go to the link in our show notes or go to truckandfit.com/radio. So truckinfit.com/radio and fill out our show application. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Trucking, big wheels there humming, high rate of fuel consumption, missing mama, needing loving, rolling with the wailing sound. Running like the southern shaker, I don't need no 40 acres to turn this rig around. I'm jacked up like a Chevy, but ain't heading to the levee. Lord have mercy sakes alive. On this high step and double clutching, gear jamming, chicken trucking, old school outlaw.